Scions of the Southland for Sunday, October 19th, 2025. It is Victory Sunday here on the flats in Atlanta, Georgia. My name is Akshay Easwaran, and joining me yet again from the beautiful streets of Atlanta, Georgia, are Jack Purdy and Jake Grant. Gentlemen, how was I-85, Jack? How was driving up and down Tobacco Road? Are you okay? Did you get mauled by some Duke fans on the way back? I want to know everything.
Um, Let me tell you, I feel really bad for Duke fans because this is my observation. I noted this to Jackson Caudell and Chad Bishop in the press box, and they were like, I noticed this too. The stadium was quieter when we had the ball compared to when Duke had the ball. It was the opposite of how it's supposed to be. Their student
Hmm.
section didn't make noise. Our band played, I think, four times the number of songs compared to Duke's band during the game itself. And it was just our normal rotunda of songs, like as in their normal cadence. It wasn't like we tried any extra. Uh, so it was in terms of the easiest places to go play football. I knew this was the case there, but they really proved that it is the easiest place crowd to play football in front of.
Jack, I got a question for you.
Hmm.
Um, are they bringing the band up all the away games again now, or is this
I
just
have
a
no
Duke
idea.
opportunity?
This was
Because
a Yeah, I
I
don't
was
know.
going to
This
say it
was
was kind of a shame they got rid of that. Louisville going up there on the road, that was weird. We could have used some, I don't know,
We
space
could have.
chords or something, you know?
This was also not the full band. It was just I think it was like just
Hmm.
freshmen or whatever. Like they just put them in a tiny little corner, and it was enough of. It was like half of our normal size, and yet it was about as many people that were in DUM, aka the Duke University Marching Band. Um, so
Is that
Surely that's
actually their
not
acronym?
literally what it's called.
I don't know if that
Surely they've called it something different.
my friends
I
that
know
went
Blue
there
Devil marching band is taken, but like, come on,
My
man.
friends that go there, that is how they referred to it in a different Slack chat I was chatting in during the game itself. So I don't quote me on it. All I know is I that's the only acronym for the band that I saw. It's probably not the actual acronym. It's just one of those student, renamings. Whatever, it's fine.
Convenient.
All to say, Duke was it's a lovely campus. I love going there. Got to see our old friend Robert Binion up there as well at the cathedral, which is really cool what they have on campus. Um, every time I go there, I wonder, man, should we be burying Nate Harris underneath Tech Tower or something like that? Considering Washington Duke is buried in the crypt at the chapel at Duke. Um, so
That's
It's the
we're not
tomb
gonna
of
that's
the
weirdly
unknown
like
tech president.
that's
yeah.
that's weirdly like European cathedral style, but for a guy type
But for a dude
sitch.
who started a school and
Yeah.
that's surrounded by golf courses, yeah,
Huh.
that's but that was a
Somehow this is all on
Strange.
brand for the Dukies.
uh,
I
That's my takeaway.
yeah.
so and it seemed to me so I for context, I watched this game without sound on because it was a lovely day to sit outside at a local establishment here in Atlanta. Support your
An
local
establishment
establishments,
we've
by the
covered
way.
extensively on this show,
Yes,
by the way.
yes. No free ads. But a Jack, I saw that confused face. Yes, we give out a lot of free ads. Anyways, Jack, you didn't listen with commentary either because you
No.
were there. Akshay, did we miss anything good? It seems to me that like yeah, the eyes kind of tell the story here, but was there anything that we might have missed from the either in person or the we're just watching all play out on a TV kind of vibe?
So there are two takeaways for me from the comms at least. We got the big game, the noon big game crew, which is Bob Wischusen and Lewis Riddick and Chris Budden on the sideline from ESPN. So it's nice to see them again because they did the Clemson game here in town.
And
The
and Lewis Riddick didn't he start the no there was some we had them for Clemson then, yeah. Okay, sorry, I shouldn't have
Yeah,
cut you
yeah,
off
we
there.
had them for
Yeah,
Clemson.
we had Monaco
The
for
the
Wake Forest. Nah, that's who I was thinking
Yeah,
of.
so there are two things that I found very interesting. Number one, Lewis Riddick is obsessed with Haynes King's throwing ability in a way that I've not really heard an announcer comment on, notably thus far this season. I think repeatedly he was like, look, this Georgia Tech offense is going to take off once they start throwing the ball. Haynes King, don't underrate that arm. I have some thoughts on that. We'll get over there in a second. The second thing, to the point of the band, and that's why I was smiling for a lot of this run up here. You could hear Tech's band clear as day, like on the broadcast, clear as like I don't
Uh,
actually remember hearing Duke's band other than for
I barely
the
do. So
touchdowns and the
yeah,
scoring plays. Like it has to be something with how the stadium was mic'd up, but man, like clear it. I could
they were
close my
louder.
eyes and honestly, I this game could have been played at home.
I mean, they
Like
were
it
louder.
was ridiculous.
The Tech crowd that was there was pretty good. Like you could, the TV angle showed where most we were on the the not alumni end of the stadium, I guess, whatever. There was a lot of us there. There's a lot of people that live around there that are alums, so it's an easy get for a lot of Tech fans, which is nice. Um, yeah, that the band was very. As I mentioned earlier, they played more songs. They played louder. They were higher up at the stadium. Duke's band was just right there in one of the corners of the field. Like they had all the room to work with. They just didn't do all that much. So I don't know. I don't mean to super demean their band, but I mean,
It
I
had to
hope
be
I
like
hope
Tech
for
was
this.
right next to a camera. Like it had to be that.
Maybe I don't know. I just hope for the sake of the just the experience of going to Duke games that like just so like I find this weird with how quiet it was there, knowing that they're the same school that has Cameron Indoor Stadium, like like
Nah, nah, nah,
down
nah.
the street, like literally down the walkway. Like you can see Coach K's office from the press box. It's
Jack, they will be intense for basketball tickets while there's a football game going on. You don't need to feel bad for them. They chose that life, and we won the football
well,
game. I
yes,
think maybe we
but
maybe we start to talk about that, right?
yes. I guess my last note is
We don't need to cry for them
there was nothing competing. There is no
yeah.
competing sports for their attention that day. There was one sport on campus. There was no lining. It was just, anyways. But yes, the football game was great. I think it was great.
Uh, we'll get to the football game in a minute. The other thing that I thought was interesting about the pregame, because game day yet again has decided to run until like 12:30 for some bizarre reason.
It was a 12-10 kick.
In
Yes,
Pat McAfee's infinite wisdom. So the from what Jack you were telling us, they basically did basketball style intros
they
for
did. Yes,
players.
I don't think this was because of game day, because the game was always scheduled to start at 12:10. Like kickoff time was
Huh.
in the inside the stadium. The countdown clock was going down to 12:10, not to 12 o'clock. But yeah, it was kind of like it was like an NFL, like at Falcons games. If you go to a Falcons game, they pick a position group to intro each game, so everyone gets their own intro at some point. But everyone that's not getting intro just runs out together. And so I thought everyone had run out, and then it was like, well, there's still like 8 minutes left. And sure enough, they just spent the next 5 minutes just going. I don't know what position group they did, or if they just did starters or whatever. But yeah, and so I was like this. It kind of felt anticlimactic because like I was like waiting for the build of the run out, and then they do the run out, but then they just keep going, and it was
That's
slow. It was
just
just
Duke
slow trickle.
basketball for you, baby.
That's I guess
That's
we're
just Duke basketball for you. Let's get into the rundown ourselves here, shall we? A 27-18 victory for Georgia Tech at Duke that now has them up to their highest point in the Associated Press poll since 2009, and highest point probably if you count 2009 overall, highest ranking since they finished number one in the coaches poll in 1990, which is a wild statement that I never really thought I would say out loud, probably during the course of us doing this podcast and what, like 6 years that we've been doing this podcast. It's
yeah.
crazy. It's unbelievable. I think there's a lot to talk about with just the historic part of that ranking. But first, the game itself. Jack, do you want to give us the quick game summary here?
Let's go through it. This first half of the game was very interesting as we had the ball only 3 times, and Duke had the ball for 4 possessions, and the clock time was they had the ball for 18 minutes. We had it for 11 minutes, and that 11 minutes really felt like five. First
Yeah.
drive, we move it a little bit, not much. Malik Rutherford comes out. We get a Jordan Allen cameo that looked cool, and then nothing happened. Uh, Duke's first drive, they just do a death march on us after Nichols puts them at the 5 yard line. They go for 92 yards. They get up to the goal line, and then very akin to what happened for us against Colorado. Mensa just fumbles an exchange. Omar Daniels picks it up, runs it back to the house for 95 yards. The longest fumble return touchdown in Institute history. And then the next drive, and so Duke just gets it right back, and they march down the field, miss a field goal on a botch snap, so they get 7 points out of two basically complete drives. Then we 3 and out. Duke punts, we punt. Late in the second quarter, Duke has enough time to get something done, and they just march all over us for 80 yards, get a touchdown to tie it at 7. We had about 27 seconds at the end of the half to maybe do something. We had 2 timeouts, and we ran the ball in our first 2 plays, called timeout both times, and then on our pass play to set Aiden Burr up, which we did get in field goal range with Isaiah Canyon. Problem was, is the clock was at 12 seconds. It started 4 seconds early before it was supposed to when the ball was snapped. And so technically we had only 8 seconds to run a play, and we used up all of it. So the refs kind of screwed us out of a field goal chance there. Second half, Duke gets a field goal to start, but they burned 9 minutes off the clock. So by the end of basically late the third quarter, we've had the ball for not even 28 plays, and Duke's had the ball for seemingly 5 hours. We get a field goal out of it, tie it at 10, and then our defense kicks into gear. They forced 2 punts in a row. We get a field goal. Probably should have been a touchdown for Isaiah Canyon, but catch rules get really funky if you go to the ground. Duke then has a negative 1 yard possession. Then we really get going. Get a touchdown to go up 20-10 by Malachi Hosley on a really nice run, I must say. Like just bouncing off dudes, getting spin moves. Like he is looking like an RB1 category running back for us right now. Duke misses a long field goal, and then we get another touchdown on a Haynes King run where we're just marching all over them again. We were cruising like we usually do, and that pretty much ends it there because that last touchdown comes with about to go up 27-10, comes with 2+ minutes to go. Duke has none of their timeouts remaining. We give them a free touchdown, basically. But that was inconsequential considering we need out the game from there. So covered. We were not favored. So once again, a Brent Key underdog win because that's just what he does. I'm fine being an underdog as everyone else I think sure is. But this was weird. It felt slow for the first half, and then we turned the Jets on, and Duke had nothing to stop it except themselves.
I think this game was very frustrating until that first defensive stop in the second half. Because a
Yep.
lot of those first two, like 3 of those first 4 drives, or I'll say 4 of those first 5 drives, right, for Duke, they are marching down the field with more or less reckless abandon. Being Mensa is able to do whatever he wants offensively, moving the ball at like a 15-yard clip. I think Shepard was contained pretty well. They're running back, but still like getting yards in like 4 or 5 yard chunks. But really, it's hats off to Darian Mensa for the performance that he put together. Just looking at his stat sheet on game on paper here, 30 of 42, 342 total yards, passing, 1 sack. Our expected QBR model, which, like it says on the 10, tries to model the ESPN proprietary QBR rating. It goes 0 to 100. Would you like to guess what Darian Mensa graded out as in this game?
Oh, probably like it's at a 92, 93.
104.
Oh, that's interesting.
103.9 to be precise. It was a very good performance. He kept the pocket clean. Like he got the ball out very, very quickly. Like he made really good decisions with the ball. There are a bunch of plays in which he was able to scramble, help his receivers, or like his receivers bought time for him. They got open. He was able to find them downfield. I continue to be very perplexed with what Tech is doing in its secondary because whatever it is, it just frequently breaks down on these kinds of things. And there are a lot of moments where I caught myself just being really, really frustrated by the defensive performance. But credit to them with that first stop in the second half, right when the game is tied. They go stop, insofar as punt, missed field goal on a drive that peters out, and then we can throw away the last drive of the game. But that is enough to allow Tech's offense to kick into gear, and an offense that had like a quarter of the total yards that Duke had at that point, especially heading into the like right before that drive that started with 27 seconds left in the first half. Like I
Yeah.
really, it took a while to get going, but once they got going, things sort of, they got it together pretty quickly.
Um,
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 Played out a lot like Wake in that regard. A lot like Wake.
I would say
I think
for
Duke's a better
stretches
team
of
though.
this game, I,
yeah.
I would agree with that. I'd also add that because Duke is a better team, Tech's offensive performance for when they were getting held down was much worse. In the Wake game, I think one of the things that we talked about was those first two drives end in turnovers on downs because of bad fourth down plays. Tech is at least able to move the ball in that game.
They gave himself a shot.
Or
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
They were able to move the ball in that game, but ended up, like chance variance, right at
Yeah.
the end of those drives on 4th and 1s or 4th and 5s or 4th and 6s. In this game, punt, punt, punt on the first three drives, and you throw out the weird end of half sequence,
It does
right?
feel like against teams that have respectable defenses that have something that's we have to adjust to or that are going to be somewhat of a problem for us. It takes us a second to get there, to get our wheels under us. This one even more so this week. Granted, again, like Wake, Duke had a whole bye week coming into this game, so they were fresher
We're
in terms of
back. It's the Paul Johnson era, like, all over again,
it's all
baby.
that
They
that
run the ball and then they get every opponent off a bye. It's
exactly.
great.
It's yeah. So there was definitely some things that look kind of telegraphed, like when we want to throw some screens. I saw one audible, I think a defensive audible that Duke had where we line up trips left in a row, not bunched up, and they're whoever their green dot is on defense immediately was like they had a hand signal going, like they knew exactly what was coming, and we are lucky as hell that we didn't get pick six on that because whoever the linebacker was that saw that coming put the hand out,
He
they
dove immediately.
like they
Like the
re
corner is immediate on that, and
yeah
he sniffs it out. It's
yeah
it's absurd, and I think these screens have got to stop. They are
they
not fooling anyone. They are not blocked well. The success rate has to be consistently sub 30%.
I think
Like,
that's the big thing is they're not blocked well enough. Like they're just not blocked well.
yeah,
We had the tight end blocking that does partly need to happen to make this entire thing work. It hasn't been all the way there. There are some outside runs that have been still working for us throughout the season. Like there are some still good wide receiver blocks that happen, but yeah, that hasn't been great. To give a sense of the disparity of production in that first half, Duke outgained us by yards by 128, 238 to 110. By the end of the third quarter, it was 311 to 178, and they had 10 more first downs than us and almost 130 more passing yards than us, which is wild for a game where Haynes King once again threw for 200 and ran for 100.
Yeah.
It was just all and keep in mind, we had 3 real drives in the first half. Like that last one with 27 seconds is kind of whatever. But that, like, even by our standards of like, we play kind of like how Vandy plays, where we want to shrink the game, we want long grinding drives, like we want to limit how many times our teams have the ball, and it worked the other direction in the first half. Like we just never had a real shot to. I think if we get it, like, because as soon as the second half starts, we're scoring. We scored every drive in the second half that we had the ball, that mattered at least. So I wonder if there's a world where okay, we get the ball just 2 more times like you would normally in a first half. Do we see 17 in the first half? Do we see like just something a little bit more because we've had chances to get our feet going, and it just took 3.5 hours. It felt like to just have a real chance to do something.
Well, and I think this is where the Wake Forest game probably true too, but like I was really feeling the clock changes over the last couple of years in this game. Like it and I think you notice it watching other games on television too, maybe more so than being in the stadium. In the stadium you're, still looking at a big green rectangle even during the commercial break, but like the first half just felt really short. The first half
Yeah.
against Wake felt really short. I'd say probably the same for Virginia Tech. Maybe if I was remembering harder, I could date it back a little bit more. But when you only touch the ball, or I guess end of a half drive, but like 7 real drives in a game is not. It's not a lot,
We
and
had
and part of
20.
that's like two teams that eat
Yeah,
clock pretty effectively. But
we had 24 scrimmage plays in the first half. You usually get like what 80 plays a game, something like that. We had
well,
24 in the first half. That's crazy.
and I think that goes to the like like uncomfy feeling about yesterday, but it's like really, I mean, not to be like, oh well, like whatever, like we won and that kind of thing, but like
Yeah,
if you only touch the ball 3 times, like that's just not getting a lot of bites at the apple at that rate, which I
it's
guess,
rough.
yeah, to your point
Now,
is kind of the point. But
yeah, if you get rid of the end of half drives that ended both halves, I mean, we scored on 4 or 7 drives in the end,
yeah.
which is
Mhm.
great. That's usually, I mean, at that rate is good. The volume messes up the final points total we put up. Like we definitely played like a
Mhm.
team that could have put up 40 if Duke didn't just chew every. Now, I also assume Duke wanted to do that too because they knew we could be
Yeah.
explosive. They knew we could do the same thing and limit their opportunities. It,
Yep.
if they sort of, I mean, they got what they wanted with the spotting of 7 points though to make that happen, which thank God it happened that way. Um, but in the end, it did feel like I want to touch again on what Akshay noted about the Mensa just having all acres of space. Uh, Brett mentioned that they wanted to force him to throw, like they wanted to hold the run, which they did in that fourth quarter, especially where they Duke ran for -1 yards on offense. They wanted to force Mensa to scramble, which did happen. The problem is that once he started scrambling, they had a lot of opportunities. I saw a comeback route on a 2nd and 20 that was completed with ease, like with no one around the wide receiver on the right side. I mean, Cooper Barkade had 172 yards receiving in this game. That dude played at Harvard last year. Um, it's there is the frustrations are absolutely still there of the just shut guys down, please. Like show some pressure. Granted, second half they do actually start tipping a lot of good balls. Like there is man coverage that is shutting down potential touchdown opportunities. So they in crucial spots, as actually mentioned, they got the job done. Like they needed that. They are truly living out the bend don't break mantra right now, which came very much into effect at the goal line where Duke, the hardest yard for them to get was the last yard
I wouldn't even
multiple
say it was the
times.
last yard. I would say it was the last like 18
Foot,
inches.
right?
Like
Yeah,
it was so close, and you see Jordan Vandenberg blow up run plays at least
yeah.
three of the four plays that they got, and then there was that also fascinatingly weird, disconcertingly signals situation,
Oh,
which I
the.
have
Let me tell
never
you,
ever seen something like that in
I I
a football game.
I did not know you could slap someone's butt so hard in a stadium that everyone could hear it and that it could count as yeah, snap infraction simulation thing. But I thought that was Braden Manley who was smacking the guy. I thought he was like just trying to get him to move over. Was my thought. I'm like, he just smacked this dude's butt like 4 times as hard as he possibly could. Like there was a
Oh, the
full
replay,
windup.
the camera angle is hilarious. The
Like
clip that has been going around is
these are
hilarious.
flagrant two fouls in the NBA where you have wind up and follow through. Like it is absolutely bonkers. But whatever. Now we know there's a new way to break the rules in football. I guess.
Yeah, no, in some conferences you can call a timeout and then claim that you're clapping and try to get it reversed. It's great.
Huh? Interesting.
Fascinating, truly. To the point about the defense, I think they struggled a lot in zone coverage. Like Mensa consistently found seams in the zone coverage,
Right.
and a lot of those comeback routes, Tech is just a couple steps behind um, on one of those edge zones, or like the boundary side zones, and it's extremely frustrating when you see two DBs that are like 3 yards in front of the receiver and the ball is just dropped in the bucket behind them.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think on the one that you're talking about specifically, like the two DBs, and it's probably I think it's at least one linebacker and one DB. There is not a chance that they know that that receiver is behind them. Like I mean, that's the whole like point about finding the seams in zone coverage is so that you can take advantage of situations like that. But like it's it is really bad. I think to your point, they mixed in a little bit more man as the game progressed. They felt like they could go one on one a lot more. Even with the four dropped in coverage, they knew that Mensa wasn't going to scramble as effectively in the middle of the field. So that sometimes they kept the spy, sometimes they didn't. Um, so I think like blending in a little bit more man helped them out on that end. Um, it was frustrating to see an overgrown power forward that John Shire will love get so many catches in Cooper Park.
I
Just
know.
He had a really good game, but man, John Shire is going to love him during basketball season. The other thing defensively, which if Tech had lost this game would be a honestly really damning bit. Duke lost 14 expected points on that scoop and score from Omar
Woo!
Daniels on
Boo.
their first drive from scrimmage.
Yep.
They
Yep.
were still EPA positive on the day. Like, yes, the touchdown and the 2-point conversion get them over the hump here, but the fact that they lost 14 on their first drive and then still came back to be positive is pretty notable.
It's big, yeah. Like, so to be fair, everything except for garbage time, they're negative. Like they don't get into positive until our defense basically gives up, knowing we can ice the game as soon as we get the ball back. Uh, but yeah, nonetheless,
Nonetheless,
the plays
it's
still
still
happen.
pretty shocking. Yeah,
They
and the
were
EPA split between pass and rush, just to throw that in here too, to your point. EPA per dropback on throws 0.52, which is 91st percentile, and on rush attempts minus 0.24, which is 15th percentile. So the game plan worked. At what cost? A lot of this stuff. It came at the cost of like 400 total yards for Duke, or
yeah,
excuse me, 543 total yards.
yeah, yeah. It did. What's Jake? I don't know if because you have sound, so you may. I don't know if you could just pick this up just from purely body language. But when I the question I asked Haynes King after the game was about just like you're in this situation over and over and over again where you have like second half. If you score, that does a lot to help secure the game. Like so, it is. These are high leverage situations, and you guys have pulled it out time and time again. And his quote was that they just don't panic. Like they never get frazzled. It is just they're just on to the next play. They're very in the moment kind of team. Did you pick that up from just watching without sound and just purely watching the football of it all? Like, did it seem like they? Because I certainly felt this in the stadium of just like they never seemed to lose themselves. Did you pick that up at
The
all?
the chippiness at the end of the first had me one a little confused and two a little concerned. Like, oh gosh, if we're gonna be getting into scrapes here, where's the head at?
I
But
think that was just us trying to get the ball down for the ref, and it just got a little
okay,
funky. Yeah, because we were
isolated.
trying
Oh
to.
no,
Okay.
there was a hit. There was a
Was there?
late
Okay.
hit that wasn't called on
Oof.
King from what I saw on the
Okay.
TV angle.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so
And
I
there were some
must have missed
offensive
the.
linemen that took offense to that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Well, yeah, I don't know. They seem pretty cool, calm, and collected. And how do I put this? If they weren't confident in their game plan, they wouldn't be sticking to these like jet sweep lateral motion
Yeah.
strategic defeat -2 yards type plays.
Yeah.
Which I guess maybe some of that's just getting game reps in to get those kind of plays in the mix. But I think if they were like scared or not confident, it would be design QB run, design QB run, design QB run, run the Haynes King play, and just let the chips fall as they may. The fact
Yeah.
that they were playing a reasonably consistent and diverse set of offensive plays instead of again spamming the Haynes King design run or Jamal Haynes up the gut type stuff. I think and I can see Akshay like teeing up to go in on this, but like they weren't playing scared. That much I can say
No,
it
not at all.
felt like. Now, was it making me concerned? Yes. But I am not a football player, so there you go.
I think so. I think you're right, which is not something I say to you particularly often, but I
I
do
don't think
think
you've
you're
ever
right,
said that to me.
Wow.
especially on audio. So
Yeah.
someone bottle this up. I think you're right, but I think that this is a game plan built in response to how teams play Georgia Tech, right? I think the even despite this, and yeah, that sounds like very vanilla, but let me explain. I think the trick to beating Georgia Tech is still the book is still out. For defenses, you consistently have to force Tech to throw deep, and you have to have eye discipline at the middle level, right? Your linebackers can't get caught with the eye candy. And if opposing defenses make Tech play what is like a I don't know, like a Steve Sarkisian vanilla like Sark, I guess isn't a bad example, but like just like a very vanilla version of college, like the prototypical college football offense,
Hmm.
like Tech will lose. Like Tech's offense will lose down over down. Like I am convinced of that. And for opposing offenses, they have to force Tech to defend middle and deep balls because I think, as we've discussed earlier in this episode, the secondary consistently struggles in zone coverage. They won on man in this case in a lot of the critical downs, but still, like, there were situations in man coverage, especially on that first Duke touchdown, where the defender overcommits, he overruns the receiver, and the receiver just is able to sort of like tap him out of the way in order to secure the ball, right? Like, so those two things I think have been made with the Wake game and with the Duke game have been made abundantly clear to me. Like, that is how you beat Georgia Tech on both sides of the ball. I think, given that, Buster Faulkner designs an offense that's like, okay, we need to win on the edge a little bit more, and we need to start uncorking it downfield a little bit more in order to open up the game for safeties that are cheating to run defend, force them back up, and force the middle level back up so that the run game can work a lot better. And I noted that long completion to Josh Beetham on that first drive of the second half. The DB actually falls down on that route, but I think the emphasis of that play is that it forces everyone that is in the linebacking core and the secondary for Duke to push back, right?
Yep.
You know, now they have to be, because that DB is behind the entire way, but then ends up tripping. Just the fact that that play is successful, and then he runs for more yardage, right? Because there's no one there to tackle him now that that DB has fallen. Everyone has to take like a yard more cushion or give a yard or two more cushion in that in the second two levels of the defense. So now Tech is able to open up with the offense, be less vanilla, be more weird, do a lot more motion stuff. But you don't see it you don't see it come back a lot until that long completion to beat them.
And I'll give you there's plays here that kind of that show this point all the way through. Yeah, it starts with that Beetham play it was a 49-yarder. We should have gone further. Like, that drive stalled out because we got slow at the line of scrimmage and had to burn a timeout on a delay of game. But the next drive, Eric Rivers draws a defensive pass interference on a long shot down the left sideline. Dean Patterson was wide open for a touchdown. Like, we should have scored a wide open touchdown, and Haynes King overthrows him by 3 yards, and it's not even not a chance. But there's a shot we had a absolutely he hit a gashing post route. Like, Dean was all the way open. And then that creates a long third down, and we hit Isaiah Canyon for like 30 yards. And so, like, they were pushing that envelope very specifically in the second half. And then that again, it opened up the game, and then Haynes King is able to run for a gazillion yards because now we're trying to throw the ball downfield. So, in a sense, yeah, like, it's a game plan that has continued to work over and over and over again. I will say, in theory, I think you get a more complete version of this game plan if the offensive line is just stops people a little bit better. Like, this is a problem against Wake Forest. This
It was a
Clemson had
problem
this.
versus VT in spots too. There were issues with guys just running through that offensive line, like unblocked. I think Keelan Rutledge especially. I hate that I know offensive lineman names. Like, I think this is like an old adage. Like, if you know an offensive lineman's name, like, there's something probably has gone wrong. But Keelan Rutledge really struggled in this game, especially in the first half. There were some really bad missed blocks, really bad missed assignments. Again, Tech ends up winning this game, so you can't complain like a ton.
And these are things that,
especially on plays where Tech could have bounced them out, right, for big yardage. It's just, I feel like this was a play where he missed. The defender just ran straight at him, and he got pushed to the side as the defender rushes, like blind rushes King, and ends up being a negative play.
These are things that, in theory, will also get better throughout the year. Like, obviously, it's not perfect now. We still only scored 7 points in the first half. Like, that's not ideal over the 3 drives.
7 defensive points. Let's keep that in mind.
Right. No
0
offensive points. That's right. No offensive points. So in theory, this should get better because experience and all the different kinds of things like that. I do also wonder to an extent. I mean, this has happened each year with Buster. New things come out of the Georgia game. Just something's always saved for late season. I don't know what they're holding. I don't know if they can get. There's been games we have seen this over and over where midseason games against teams. Now this is a little bit different, I'd say, considering we knew that this game was a big hinge point in the probable end result of the ACC. So there was still some eye candy stuff going on. New guys got involved. I mean, JT Byrne had a catch today. Like multiple tight ends three tight ends had important catches today.
I mean,
All
I think as soon as that Beetham catch works, they start going to the tight end crosser
yeah,
a lot more,
yeah,
because they know that those linebackers are still a couple yards up, and so
yeah.
they just get in right behind their zones, and I
Yeah.
think it worked really well multiple times.
All that to say, like you get the offensive line stores that there's just first halves have just been teams just busting through our offensive lines and stopping things, and
Yep.
which is partly why I this surprised me. I didn't realize until this just now. Haynes and Hosley combined ran for under 50 yards or under 60 yards. Neither of them reached 30. Now Hosley got a big touchdown. He also, but all like his negatives were because of the offensive line. They weren't because of him. Jamal Haynes, I think, is just not fully healthy right now because he had that hamstring thing before Wake Forest, and that made things odd. He pulled up during one play in this game, so he doesn't seem to be fully fresh. Just from eye test, I don't know that first. The team hasn't said anything, but it's they're kind of it's like the Arthur Smith use your weapons to set up your backups kind of thing, except it's use our running backs to set up Haynes King, and it's that
Use the rest of the offense to set up QB run.
yeah.
I don't think it's that bad of a strategy when it works this well. It's
We
just
keep
that
winning. Hey,
Haynes.
there's a zero in the loss column, so obviously
I
something's
agree,
working.
but also like every week, I'm seriously concerned that Haynes King is just going to pass out on a football field. Like it's terrifying some of the stuff that
Yeah,
they've had him do. I think they've run to their credit. I think since the beginning of the season, they've actually run him a lot less.
and less dangerously
Yeah.
too. Less
And
dangerous.
yeah,
He only ran for
yeah.
14. He was our leading in attempts again at 14 attempts, and for 120 totals, which crazy good. He had that 32 yarder. So, but then again, it's like he's finding a lot of it's a third and one. I think what's a big thing is we need to get more effective on those third and shorts where like everyone on planet Earth knows we're about to run
Yep.
Haynes King, and we
Yep.
can do it. And
That's
here's
one
the
of
thing.
I think that's one of the Rutledge blown blocks
Yeah,
is that it's third and short. Everyone knows that a King run is coming. And I think to their credit, actually, in this game, they ran up in a strong eye and ran
they
FB
did,
dive
and
twice.
and it worked,
It was and it
Yeah,
worked. Both of those
yeah.
times it was a handoff to Hosley from the strong eye and it worked.
Yep.
So I think those are other options that you have in your arsenal, right? Like I think and I've been saying this a lot to other people. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast itself, but like the weird stuff makes it work, right? The weird stuff
hmm
works. The motion, I mean, strong eye is like power NFL football. So like not
Yeah.
weird,
It's
but
basic.
like
Yeah.
it's basic, but like the motion, the moving multiple guys around, the orbit motion, the
hmm
like stop sitting in like a 3x2 or trips left or like when you're not moving guys around. Like this works. A lot of this stuff works, and the defensive or the offensive line has to hold their blocks for less when you get the ball out quicker and you move the pocket around. Like
hmm
I think playing to your strengths, moving defenders' eyes helps out this offense a lot. And it to that point earlier, what the fact that they didn't start doing it until that completion to Beetham worked frustrates me. And it frustrates me every week when I see them not doing it. And then they flip it on when they know, okay, now let's actually start trying. Right. I think they are waiting for that tell. Like someone is waiting for that tell where they're like, okay, safeties have stopped checking up. Now we can start taking advantage of anything that we have going through the middle
Right.
and burning those linebackers. But I don't know. Like I get increasingly frustrated when the entire first half looks just like vanilla, like completely vanilla, and then you
Which
start going into the bag of tricks coming out of the second half. Like
which
do it in the first half.
which again, very small first half in terms of volume of opportunity. But still, I would hope in 28, 24 plays we can do more than what we did. But nonetheless, there is that. What do I want to talk? Post game win expectancy, as you put in here, 72%. That which
Yeah,
feels
I found this really odd because of everything that we've talked about thus far. Right. I think the way that I explained it mentally is that Duke like one of the five factors that Bill uses to in the model for post game win expectancy is drive or finishing drives, or which is really um, when you have a scoring opportunity. So you enter the opponent's 40, like
Yeah.
what is your rate of cashing those in? And Duke struggled. Like Duke consistently got into the red zone, honestly,
Yeah.
against Tech, and then they had two missed field goals, if you count a botch snap as a miss, a red zone stop that turned into a field goal, a
Mhm.
scoop and score, and then they punted a bunch of other times. Like they consistently they finished like two drives, right? Two or three
Yeah.
drives, and they struggled for most of the game. So to finish drives. So I think that accounts for a significant portion of this. I think also some of the like the second half cleaned up Georgia Tech's like success rate, the explosiveness, like a lot of that stuff gets cleaned up in the second half. But yeah, like this number, I think on the page really confused me at first blush. I'll also add, while we're talking about SP Plus, by the way, Tech is up to where is my sheet? They are up to 28th in SP Plus. So there's still a massive difference between the poll and the inertia that comes built into the poll,
Mhm.
and advanced metrics, predictive metrics. 21st ranked offense, 46th ranked defense, 31st ranked special teams. I'll also add that Tech is the second luckiest team in the nation by post game win expectancy, and second
Oh
order
man.
wins. They have a win. It's like 1.75 extra wins over expected. The only team that is luckier than Tech is Virginia with two full wins over expected. So yeah,
I mean,
it's
you got to get a little. I wonder how that would line up with other national title or not national title, but just other like win streak of at least this long teams to see like, okay, how much, how many times did you were these teams like actually just like completely rock solid, undoubtedly a 7-0 team versus a okay, they got the right bounces on the right in the right year, and then and then the seven pops up, which I think to some extent obviously is the case for us between Wake Forest, you could say Colorado, but we can't.
especially Wake Forest.
Wake Forest, Colorado, because we just gave the ball like Duke just did not close drives enough for most of that game. Uh, Clemson, because Clemson, who the hell knows? It's just a close game. Uh, so that's not a thing we'll study now, but a thing to keep in mind.
That is a great thing for Jack, you to message Bill Conley about from our site,
Mm,
gameonpaper.com.
that's a great point. Are we gonna we should do game on paper corner at the end of the pod. Uh, we'll see. We'll see. Jake, oh, I thought I had a question for you. Okay, Jake, I have a history bit here. That is, this is World War II history bit actually. So like completely unrelated. With the new poll, we are number 7 in the poll. Um, I've been talking with my dad. I talked with people. It's just like, why the hell are all these new teams in the top 10? And in the midst of many conferences, aka two conferences, being universally hated by the rest of the football world, I present to you the allied powers of college football. Indiana University, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt University, and kind of sort of Texas Tech because someone's got to bankroll all this.
Jack, I got one problem. Is
Okay.
that Vandy and Indiana are from those two conferences that you just said that everyone doesn't like.
Well,
So
they were leftovers. No one thought about them in the midst of this. They aren't the ones that are actively on the front lines for this conference. They're sitting in the back. They don't care about them.
I'm sure they're happy to claim them now and all of their baseball titles as well.
Well, I said college
I
football.
don't
I didn't
know.
say
I
college
don't know.
baseball. I said college football.
Yeah.
This is very specifically just college football. This is
Well,
we've been wanting to see a sea change, and these four horsemen are here to bring it for the country.
Ooh,
see,
Notre Dame reference.
the thing is, I don't even know how much of this is truly a sea change. And that this is a take that I don't have all the way out, and this is how you know that we don't prep these things. But like, I don't know, man. Like there's still 10 SEC teams in the top 25, and I just do not fundamentally believe that it is possible for that many SEC teams to legitimately be top 25 teams. And maybe this
Right.
is my my Georgia Tech and ACC exposure, but I think until we see a like yes, acknowledgement of I don't know SMU being pretty good. I would take pretty good SMU on a very similar case to a pretty good Illinois or Michigan. I believe all three at 5-2 right now. SMU
Yeah,
Texas question mark. That
I'd
would be an
pick
interesting game right now, and
I was thinking,
I think I'd
yeah,
take SMU in front of all of them. So
exactly. Yeah.
I'm gonna co-opt your question into a more of a statement on I don't like, and I'm an Indiana, born and raised person, not in the state. No, 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 no. IU
Fandom.
grad son. I'm a good son. I grew up going to games down there every once in a while. I think the last time I was there though, I did watch Ohio State absolutely clobber them. So sign of the times then. But like Indiana being good is just more of this like narrative, narrative, narrative. Vandy being good is more of the narrative, narrative, narrative of these schools. It's good to see Tech at 7-0. It's funny too because I'm like, these guys 7-0. Okay, okay, great. We're having
Well,
fun. Let's just keep it up, But like Indiana is at the point where they don't feel like a lark. But Alabama getting throttled by a Florida State team that feels truly questionable makes me go like, how much of this is like
Questionable.
Ohio State and then maybe Indiana and then everyone else? Just I don't think anyone has any way to rate. Like
I don't
I don't
know
know if that makes sense.
if we wanted to get into ACC football corner, Florida State is possibly more than questionable. I think Mike Norvell is going to get fired tomorrow. I'm pretty convinced that he's going to get fired tomorrow. They have
And
lost
Alabama
nine
lost to that
straight.
team.
They've lost nine straight conference games. They lost to Stanford last night. Stanford. Stanford is terrible.
No,
yeah.
noted ACC power Stanford.
Power in like
Uh,
advanced computing, maybe, but not football.
And women's volleyball.
Yeah,
that and all
God.
every track and field sport out there. Uh,
But
well, there.
I wasn't trying to rain on the parade. I do think it's exciting that Vandy and Indiana are up there, Jack. I really do.
Yeah, no.
But
Here's that. Well, a second question to this, which is can relate to how their rise, but I am still trying. I have not fully landed on what is the fun. Well, a part of the function of why we're rising so tall right now is because we take care of the little things and we just haven't messed up yet. We haven't blinked yet. Through
and I think that's evidence that this Georgia Tech team's floor is higher than the last 2 years, even if a lot of
oh,
the cast of
obviously,
characters are the same.
obviously, yeah. I mean, it is just so many other teams haven't shown the ability to keep it all together all the time like we have. And so I don't know if it feels partly we are rising not because we have gotten that much better, but because everyone else is getting that much worse and aren't as put together and they aren't as buttoned up. Which then you say, then I put it that way, and I've been preaching the fact that we have the little things taken care of, and Brent Key is like a very granular coach, like knows how to take care of those things, and well, if you do that well, you end up playing better and you end up winning games. So like I'm still trying to understand the locus of that, but it does seem like there is a mixture of we are floating up just because there's no one else to push up versus versus us being like, no, we are head and shoulders clearly the seventh best team, better than Ole Miss, one spot worse than Oregon, which like I say that out loud. I'm like, I don't believe that necessarily. Like I think Lane would dog walk us right now if we played Ole Miss on a neutral site. But in the context of week 7 in college football and what's happened so far, you've got to put things in order somehow. And that's just where it makes sense for. I mean, we're 2 spots ahead of Miami, and I mean, Friday night's Miami, we would beat them. Like that's a beatable team if Carson
And
Beck's
look,
playing
if
like he
Carson
played.
Beck wants to throw absolute garbage interceptions
Please
like 4 times a game, sure,
be our
fine,
guest. Be
whatever.
our guest. Yeah.
Like be our guest. There's a whole Beauty and the Beast song about this. But like the I think too much of a joke.
Just keep talking.
I think the point that you're making is salient. It's like a lot of there's you have to rank 25 teams. Like you
Yeah.
have to rank 25 teams every week, and you can't penalize a team that is just winning who they're playing against.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the Indiana thing of last year. It's like they have like eventually the bill comes due, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
hard ceiling on how high Georgia Tech can fly just on the
Yeah.
basis of their schedule. And
Exactly.
if you're
Exactly.
looking towards playoff rankings in 2 weeks, like there is a hard ceiling. Like
Yes.
there's a hard ceiling, there's a hard ceiling. But it's nice. Like it's nice to be 7-0. It's nice to have bowl eligibility
Oh,
wrapped
for
up
sure.
in October. It's nice to have almost watched your nationally respected rival get knocked out of playoff contention in October, right? Like while you stay in the game, right?
Yeah.
Like all of these
Bye,
things are
Clem.
nice.
Bye, Clem.
That's not even the one that I was talking about, but there's also that, right? It's
See
nice.
you next year. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Let's not even talk about Davos Swinney's job security. That's a whole other kit and caboodle. But like, it's nice. I think like my strategy for this season has been like I will be very happy and ecstatic about these wins and this poll ranking from like Sunday to the middle of the day Thursday. The existential dread starts creeping in like Thursday through the end of Friday. And then Saturday morning, I'm actually stressed out. And I think that's honestly pretty healthy.
The last time Georgia Tech was 7-0, went 7-0 by beating Duke on the road, was 60 years ago. Enjoy this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
We're not guaranteed.
that's I think that's
Sure.
interesting too, because like obviously like been very interested in all the games, been very excited by all the games, been enjoying seeing them. But like the curse of expectations or stress is taking you out of the game itself. And I know that we've been doing this for like an hour at this point almost, but like
Just this
I think
game
that's
for an hour.
Good. It's
I
important.
think
It's
that's something
important.
that's taken me personally out of say enjoying maybe let's say a pretty solid but not elite volleyball last few seasons is the pressure of expectations and what comes next. This is the year where we get to be, especially now that we're bowl eligible, everything else is gravy. Like, I know that the dreaming big, oh, we control our destiny in the ACC, oh, we control some sort of destiny towards the college football playoff. But like, if this isn't the fun one, you're never gonna have fun watching this
Right.
sport.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
ever again. Maybe
and I
ever again. Because at
yeah.
every
Yeah.
60 years, if
That's
we're
not a
still
good
podcasting at the age of 86, then awesome. Good for
pod,
Well,
us.
I would be
podcast.
shocked that someone has let us keep our podcast license for that long.
Uh,
Yeah.
true. I think of
Uh,
note, like to reassure that point of how you can feel about this team. Like the team is not feeling that weight either right now. Like
nope.
they know they're good. They know they're
Yep.
good, but they know what they can achieve. It's
Hmm.
so it's a self imposed get better every play mentality, not a these people are saying these things about us, therefore we must do this. Like and they're doing this.
ESPN actually IP banned from the facility.
I wish, but it's
That'd be really funny.
that'd be. I mean, but at the same time, like Haynes King is doing interview after interview, and he is still completely locked in. Like they are not
Yeah.
getting distracted whatsoever. Bradkey is still. Hell, he made fun of me for during my question just for the hell of it. Like it was we were just all having a good
Honestly,
time. Like
I was gonna ask about this, but I didn't get a good window for it, and
yeah,
you guys were just kind of going, so I was like, I'll
sorry,
just
yeah.
chill. The audio on the question askers is never very good in that, and I was like
Well,
driving
there was
along, going to church
yeah
this morning, and I was like, oh, that's Jack. I can't hear at all what he's saying, and then like
they
I was like, the
yeah
vibe of this response from Brent is kind of weird. What's up with
he
that?
was just kicking my chain. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, we did have usually some behind the scenes at we have press conferences on campus. We have microphones that are handed out
Yeah.
to that there's someone who's shifting a microphone around. We don't have that
Mhm.
on the road usually, so it's just whatever the audio that the team's video picks up. That's it. So that's why on
Okay.
road it'll never be perfect.
Yeah.
But at
I
home
gotcha.
it should work. So that's just how that was. No, I was asking about I asked him about the why is your defense so good when there's 1 yard to go, and he played some grammar fun with me of like who's got 1 yard to go what I was like hilarious.
Funny guy.
I'm glad all that to say they if you there is if you yeah as Jake said if you can't feel good about this now where we are at like again like that's on you, but the team is they know what they can achieve, and they have given us 7 reasons to believe in them so far. Um, And for what it's worth,
Yeah.
we had 8 wins as the floor. I want to say at the beginning earlier the season was that was about where
I
we were
think
like,
we had like eight, I don't know if I would say it was the floor. I
but it
think
was
I
like
would
the
say,
what we thought. It was the average of what we thought was doable.
yeah, it's like this. If they have 8 wins this season, it is a success, I
Yes,
think is how we probably phrased it. If
and
they
this
had any more than that, it would have been an amazing year. If they had any less than that, it would be disappointing just because of the way that the schedule laid out.
All
And I think
right.
that's
All
still
right.
on brand.
So, that reminds me, while you guys were going off on your little dealio, I was like, oh, I've been doing this Massey thing every couple weeks. My screed. Massey tends to not like Georgia Tech maybe as much as other numbers. Gents, we are favored by Ken Massey in his ratings, sorry,
Mhm.
the rest of the way until the UGA game. Obviously, a 100% chance of 7 wins if you take all those probabilities and add them together. 100 times 7 means that is the floor. Looking ahead, there is a 99.4% chance of 8 wins, at least 8 wins, 93.27 of at least 9, 69.44 for at least 10, 29.98 for 11 or more, and 3.88% chance odds on 12. And oh, I'm pretty sure that's about a doubling from last week. So, assuming some motion up from Tech, and certainly locking in the coin flippy odds against Duke as well there. So, yeah,
Fair.
that's
Yeah,
that's that update. We've tossed that out there lately. So, there you go.
that's good. And I'm very confident that eighth is coming this weekend because looking to Syracuse, they ain't good right
What's
now.
what's going on up there? I thought it was like, oh, this backup situation might be pretty good. He's almost as good as the other guy, and then all of a
They
sudden it's like, oh, they're spinning their wheels. They're
they
they're in a
don't
tailspin.
they just don't score points as a concept. It seems like
How long has
they.
it been since Fran Brown has taken a shower? That's what I want to know.
In like a month
Oh
at this
my goodness.
point, winners get washed, right?
Ugh. Spread is 17 and a half. Syracuse is not good, but I do want to, as every year, I would like to win the homecoming game, and celebrate at an 8-win season for the first time in a while. I mean, the last time they won 8 games was the Orange Bowl year, right?
Gator Bowl. Gator
Gator
Bowl. They
Bowl
won
year.
nine and
Mm,
four.
Makes
womp
sense.
womp. That's
Beat
that's
Kentucky,
bad for
beat
my
Vandy,
memory.
beat UGA. That's half the SEC East at the time. So, that's
Looking
good
at
ones.
Rip SEC East. Your work in inflating a certain program's record will never be forgotten.
I'm looking at
And
the game on paper leaderboard. Syracuse is 1 spot ahead of Stanford, and 1 spot behind uh this school, Missouri State. In
I
Oh,
forgot
not
that Missouri
Missouri.
State was the FBS this year.
yeah, yeah, in net
Um,
in net EPA per play. Yep.
Huh.
womp womp womp
Let's
So that's how bad they are.
womp.
That's my point there. They
wait.
as Stanford no good, Syracuse also no good.
Stanford is atrocious. This has to be before we updated today, right?
This has been updated at 3 a.m. and I think it's updated because Ohio State has taken the top spot, and that was not the case last week. So
So I got a question, and this can maybe be game on paper corner.
sure.
We've got the
This is our
printer
first ad of
himself
the day.
on the call. Um, Adjusted EPA per play
Hmm.
plus 0.08 for Georgia Tech, right above Duke, actually. Um, how are we feeling about that? I feel, and I know that we got a nice little number 7 next to our name, very fresh off the presses. But like, am I crazy to say like, mm, 43? That sounds kind of right. But also, you got a lot of teams above us that are not playing, maybe ACC or better caliber talent. Is that a fair take for that?
I think it is. You get some extra juice in the model, the way that we've set it up, depending on your opponent difficulty. Um,
Mm.
so if you play a particularly hard opponent, you'll get a boost. If you play a particularly easy opponent, you won't get as much and throttle them, you won't get as much of a boost. So like the way that we set the model is a little interesting. And we can debate the merits of it here at another time. But yeah, that's kind of how we've set it up. I will say though, like this kind of goes back to a point I was making earlier about the first halves of these games not being particular, like being extraordinarily vanilla from Tech. And I think they struggle in these, like they play a very bad first half or a very vanilla first half, and then they play a great, weird second half, right? And so it all evens out to be kind of comfortably mid.
Yeah,
And
if
then
it was just
we also throw out like, oh, if you score in garbage time, we throw that out. If you score, or like, we throw those out too. So you're not getting as much of a boost in some of these cases. So yeah, it's just
it,
it's a little low, but it's not like, given that SP plus has tech at like 21, maybe it's like 10 spots too low. I don't know.
I mean, if you did that first, if we had a way to divide it between first half and second half only, like we'd be way the hell up on the second half chart. Like that's for damn sure. We'd be way up there because the teams around us are Auburn and Duke, and Auburn absolutely getting boosted by who they're playing, and barely losing to people, but they play almost winning football most of the time. LSU's up there again, who they played. Penn State's got a losing record. It's in the top 30, but then again, who are they playing kind of thing.
I'll also add here that this team has not blown the doors off someone yet,
True.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
there is.
like the VT game is the first time that they scored, that they ended the game with like a 2-score lead. And I guess this is the second one at 9 points. But like Ohio State has blown the doors off of every team that they've played. Oregon,
Yes.
other than Indiana,
Yes.
has blown the doors off of every team they've played. Like UConn being up here is interesting, but I'm gonna have to figure that one out. But like Ole Miss has blown the doors off of every team they've played. I think UConn, has gone to
They're
overtime
okay.
in a lot of their games,
They're
right?
okay, and they beat Boston College pretty handedly yesterday too. So, uh, they've got a big win there in the midst
Florida
of that
State is
resume.
getting a boost. Florida State's getting a boost from UVA and Alabama still, right, in the model. So it's low, but also I think when you account for all of these factors, right, the not blowing the doors off of anyone, so you don't have like a game where you're just plus 70, plus zero point 0.7 in EPA per play, constantly playing tight games, constantly like playing vanilla first halves. Like, given all those factors, the number makes sense to me. Maybe the ranking doesn't mentally make sense, but the number makes sense to me.
Okay, fair. I was just curious.
With that, that was our first sponsor read of the episode. How about our second from Section 103?
As always, this podcast, it's brought to you by Section 103. 10% off Georgia Tech gear at Section 103 today for all of our Georgia Tech related listeners out there. If you're an LSU listener or Kennesaw State listener or a Georgia Southern listener, I'm sorry, but Georgia Tech is your top 10 team there. So it's 10% off Tech. Free shipping over $100. As always, there's so much Georgia Tech stuff that you can get from Section 103. They've got t-shirts, polos, sweatshirts, hats, performance wear, players shirts, women's, youth, baby and toddler, and stickers. And yes, I did just read that in order off their menu. They've got so much stuff. It's all the right tech gold. It's all the great tech logos that you know and love. Go give them a shout over there. Tell them we sent you. Code FTRS. 10% off there as well. That's section103.com and at section103 on Instagram. Gents, let's get to it.
Let's talk about volleyball. The 9-8 Georgia Tech volleyball team. 2 nice, clean wins versus Wake Forest and NC State. Do we get the feeling that this program is back on track, gentlemen?
I feel like we haven't seen wins like this in a hot minute, Jack.
I think this is a product of who we played more than anything.
Yep. Yep.
We ran 8 people against Wake Forest, which means the only person who was a sub that played was Laura Bieleski, which is also a function of who is healthy, because Menjes would play if she was there. Mogridge would play if she was there, and Bozy maybe would make a spot appearance. It's Alapuyo would make an appearance, but they're all hurt, and they're not going to be playing anytime soon, it seems like. So this is just the people that can play and can play well, and so that's where we're at.
But they throttled them with that big injured lineup you mentioned. 25-11 in a set win for this Georgia Tech team. We haven't seen that in a minute.
Pretty good. They had a really good one against North Carolina actually. I think it was like 14 or whatever. Just it was the one moment
too.
It was the one moment they were really hot, and none of that heat went anywhere else in that match.
I was like, we're cooking. I can get in my run here this afternoon before we record. Oops, now it's 2-1.
Yep. We
Yeah,
hit
I want to call
420.
out.
We hit
Yeah,
424 in this game. Like, what
I
the
was gonna
hell?
say second set, hit percentage is 632. They only had one error in the second set, one error in the third set. That's pretty clean, holding your side out above 80 or
It's
close to it
wild.
in the second and the third.
It's wild. Yeah.
That's what they needed, honestly.
Yeah. I'll take
Right?
it. I'll take it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Pierce had eight. It was 8 of 10, like kills to attempts. That's bonkers. Despania and Fidorovich both had 10 plus kills, which is great. Despania going at four at a 476 rate is crazy.
Relatively clean at the net too.
Yeah.
Four solo blocks, 24 block assists, only two
16,
errors.
16 total team blocks. What the hell? What Georgia Tech team outblocks a team by 14?
It's been a minute, that's for sure.
Like they've got to be bad, and we've got to have a uh, uh Garibaldi. That's how it happens. All right, I'm pulling up the
And
NC State game, which if I didn't have to drive back, I would have gone to this game, considering I was already nearby. Uh, but
they
alas,
play those at in the Coliseum too, don't they? Reynolds? I think they do.
I don't know. Nonetheless,
Pretty
we
sure they
hit
do. My
349 in this
brain
match,
tells me
so that's
yes.
pretty good.
But yeah.
Okay.
Again, pretty solid showing. And it's if I'm pretty sure it's Reynolds, but either way, it's usually a pretty tough environment. NC State's got a great culture of supporting their women's sports and turning out really nicely for these Sunday
They do.
matinee type games. I feel like we always catch them on a Sunday when we go up there.
That's
Oh,
that. Yeah, for whatever reason.
no
Yeah. I'm just
comments.
glad that this went. Yeah, I'm just glad we got through Wake without like a random five setter because we've had just random like what the hell's going on here kind of matches
Wake
against them.
Forest
And
is always like Wake Forest is always the weird volleyball, women's basketball trap game. I
Yeah.
remember like 3 years ago, Tech women's basketball was cruising, and then they like hit the roadblock or like a speed bump of Wake Forest and
hmm
lost a close one, and then the
Yep.
entire rest of the season was an absolute bag fumble.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
yeah,
on the blocks note again, NC State, Georgia Tech had 11 to NC State's 8. Pretty solid there too.
It's great. That's they are still showing that they are good enough to beat who they're supposed to beat teams. But when they play a team that is clearly better than them, um, they're clearly not better than the team they're facing, which we are gonna have to deal with on Sunday.
And point I did want to follow up on. Yes, it is at Reynolds, and yes, there were almost 2,000 people there. So NC State
Oh,
quietly almost doubling the draw of, or maybe 1.5ing the draw of O'Keefe for a team that's just kind of eh. So good on them. It's a tough place to play. They make it a fun atmosphere though. So
yeah. Yeah. Anyways, we play Cal and Stanford this weekend. That's
it's the California Travel Partners Week. I'm so excited.
happy
Oh, this is
homecoming.
gonna be it's gonna be ugly on Sunday. It is
uh,
gonna be
yeah.
so that
Yeah.
tip off versus California. That is a 7 p.m. on Friday the 24th. That'll be on ACC Network Extra. That times up well with the end of Mini 500, which is great because last year I remember the homecoming games were at the same time as Mini 500, which sucked. And then Stanford on Sunday will be a noon tip. On the 26th, that will be on ACC Network. I also think that Pitt Louisville is on ABC this weekend.
It
ABC or
was
Big
Oh snap!
ESPN.
it
And
was
that's a top four matchup. So check into that too, honestly.
yeah. They're playing. I want to say they're playing now, or the match is already over.
Oh,
Something.
well, I just
Some.
advertised something that's already over. So that's
Yeah.
great.
I know Pitt had a
That's
big match today that was on a big television network.
Let me see. Let me
it
So
was
see.
today,
It
and
yes,
it
was
was
today
four
indeed.
versus six.
yes.
And so I got two things wrong. That's
And
tough.
they had it at LNN too. Really? Wow. I'm surprised they didn't put that at the Yum Center. I feel like Louisville played like half their schedule at the Yum Center last year.
They do that. Yeah, I don't know. I will note. The other school out east, they drew a record crowd recently for their program that kind of puts our record crowd to shame. They drew about 8,500 for their game on Friday, or maybe it was last week, and we have yet to break the 6,000 mark. So all that to say, next year's McCamish game, we got work to do.
They also have three times the number of students, Jack.
Don't care. Don't care.
If not 5 times. It depends on which number you use.
Don't care. I know how many of our students went, and it was a tiny percentage. So we could do it. We can do it.
Okay. I got to take a left turn here. They didn't play the Pitt Louisville game at the Yum Center, but they're playing their Notre Dame game there in a couple of weeks. That
Uh, who
makes no
knows?
sense.
Who
They
knows?
put the Kentucky game down there. I've steered us into a ditch. Let's get this back on track.
I hear the next exit on the highway out of the ditch is talking about women's tennis. Let's talk about ITA Southeast Regionals. Jake, you put together this in our shot sheet. You mentioned that this was a very confusing format with a
Well, it's
lot of like nooks and crannies to get stuck into because you had the round of 64, you had 32, you had qualifying consolation. Explain, please,
That's
I
the
beg.
thing. These brackets aren't that crazy. It's just a really big draw, and they don't play like teams in a match format. It's like if you didn't know swimming or track and being like, how do we see what's going on? But no, in general, I'd say pretty solid showing from Georgia Tech. Only had three athletes in the singles qualifying draw. Two did wind up playing into the actual draw itself. Tech went 4-3 in the round of 64. So what that's they were 1/8 of the round of 64 and became about the same proportion of the round of 32. So I feel like that's a pretty okay hit rate. In terms of doubles, Tech did have one doubles team play out of the round of 64, and then they went 3-1 in the round of 32. In the round of 32 on the singles side, a little bit tougher. They went 1-3. Alejandra Cruz played through to the round of 16. She did also win in the round of 16 itself, played through to today. TBD on the result of Alejandra Cruz's round of 16 match there. I believe. I don't know that we have a doubles update. Maybe they're playing today too. So TBD on that, but they were through to the round of 16 as well. Like I said, you want to win more than you lose. There's only one winner at the end of each of these at the end of play. So maybe a large number in the loss column is to be expected. But even then, I would say that pretty solid showing. All things considered, finishing each day with a winning record is certainly nothing to sneeze at. So.
Cool.
And
Good
and
stuff.
good. I will have one more addendum. Good showings in the consolation matches as well. So good on them getting one more win out of the play. So that you know may not get them deeper in the tournament, but it's not nothing.
Good stuff. Women's tennis specifically, they're still in action, like Jake said. They also have another fall tournament coming up. This is in 2 weeks. That'll be the Roberta Allison Fall Classic in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That'll be Halloween weekend, the 31st of October through the 1st of November. Another event that took place in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the cross country Crimson Classic. Say that 3 times fast. Jake, you want to walk us through the finishes here?
Yes, it was a pretty good set of finishes for Tech over in Tuscaloosa. The men did finish in the top three. In the I believe it was 8K was the distance, but that top three puts them behind the hosts Alabama and North Florida, but ahead of Clemson, Vanderbilt, Kennesaw State, who I think we've beaten like 4 times this year. So sorry, Kennesaw. Ahead of Oakland, Memphis, Belmont, North Alabama, Auburn, Central Arkansas, University of Miami, Chattanooga, ULM, Little Rock, Samford, South Alabama, Troy, and South Florida. Yes, all 20 teams were Division One teams, and Georgia Tech came in third. That's a good spot to be in. Good job to the men. I feel like we haven't been to a place where we can say something quite that strongly awesome in a long time. That was wonderful to see. I'm really pleased. All their finishers were in the top 50 that were scorers. They placed another athlete in the top 50 who was a non-scorer, and then their seventh place finisher finished 53rd. So again, really strong showing. Really nice to see in front of other Power Five teams, especially. It's nice to finish in front of Clemson. I always enjoy that. As far as the women go, it was the 6K race. The women finished in fifth. They were behind South Carolina, Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Tulane, but ahead of a lot of really almost all the same faces as the men. Add maybe one or two other teams in there too, but fifth out of 22, third out of 20. Those are pretty solid spots to be in. Of note, Joey Sandal was the first finisher for the men. First finisher from the men's team. He finished in 22nd. Matt Castronovo, Alexander Arambide, Ethan Kurnow, and Wyatt Wyndham are your other scorers. For the women, Lottie Chappell finished inside the top 20. She was 17th. Gracie Marston, Claire Shelton, Sadie Honig, Maddie Jones, and Stella Chambliss, all in the top 50. All of your scorers, and yeah, great to see all scorers inside top 50. Really good showing against all D1 competition. I'm feeling pretty strong about this team just based off of some results so far. But ACC cross country championships, man, I've seen the women go as high as second. I think we've seen them at them or the men as low as what 12th or 13th. So there's a lot of variance. It's one run, but in terms of just really evenly distributed depth, I think would be the name of the game. Sandal and Castronovo literally finished 22nd and 23rd. Marston and Shelton literally finished 38th, 39th. Honig, Jones, Chambliss, they were all, one after the others in the kind of mid late 40s. That's really similar depth. So hopefully it holds up against some ACC competition.
Before we do talk about swimming, I must inform the two of you and our general audience that Olivia Babcock, the best player in college volleyball for my money, in her efforts to defeat Louisville, which Pitt did, she did it with 41 kills for a Pitt record.
How many sets did this go to?
Don't know, don't care. She hit 41 kills.
I was gonna say if this is a three setter, that's insane, but it's still pretty insane if it's a five setter.
I can quickly check. It was 3-2. It was a 3-2 match.
Okay. Okay. Well, a little better, but still an insane stat. She's what, plus two sets above replacement?
Basically.
Uh,
Rip,
The war there is off the charts.
Rip Husker Geek.
An
Rip,
absurd
Rip
volleyball
Husker Geek.
player.
Man, that's such a loss to the statsing community. Mm. One day, maybe it'll come back, but today's not that day.
Maybe.
I don't know if I noted this. The ACC championships are in Louisville. They are on Halloween, so coming up here soon for cross country.
Do you think they let him race with costumes on?
Do you think they just run them in like in I don't know in circles around the track or something? Like where's the course? Cherokee Park? That might not be so bad. Over and back on the big bridge thing that they got. They're like thing to walk on, like the belt line is this big old bridge over the river. It's pretty neat. But Jack's saying to move along, so I'll end the Louisville tourism ad. Let's keep
No, we get enough of those from the airport. Believe me, I'm going to see a ton of those tomorrow.
Louisville, Illinois, and Philadelphia. It's like they're like, Jake, go home. Jake, go visit your family. Boo.
Can we talk about swimming?
Yeah, fine.
Well, see, this is the most interesting segment of the day, honestly. We've saved the best for last because this dual meet tournament, the idea of this dual meet tournament has fascinated me since it was announced over the summer. And I am extremely interested to hear how this went. So,
I
Jake,
want to
please
see if
take us
there's like
away
a.
here.
I'm gonna see if there's like a general like swim write up because I really should have done that before we got on. Georgia Tech, in terms of our results, opening round against number 7/8 NC State. I was listening to Tech Talks with Andy Demetra and John Ames before we got on here. So apparently they like power seeded the eight participating teams. I know that for those that didn't listen last week or didn't know who was there, forgot it's NC State, Georgia Tech, FSU from the ACC. It's Army and George Washington from mid-major conferences, and then you've got Minnesota from the Big Ten. You've got Auburn, the University of Georgia, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the last team. Shame on
George
me.
Washington?
Nope, I already said them.
Oh, sorry.
It's another SEC team. Oh shoot. Well, this is terrible podcasting, but we
Who
didn't
cares?
swim against them, so whatever. But apparently they power seeded all the teams. The first team got the first draw, and then they went in order. Interesting to me that NC State, presumably as the second, the first, the third, drew Georgia Tech. That's pretty interesting considering Georgia Tech's generally a relatively Strongish team. That said, NC State did handle Georgia Tech pretty solidly. Giovanna Race broke the 200 freestyle school record. That's pretty early in the year for something like that. That shuffled Georgia Tech off to the consolation against Army. They handled Army pretty solidly, 455 to 331. Of note, men's and women's scores here are combined. That is unusual for swimming. Usually, the men and the women are contested as separate events. Where I think that is also interesting is in the Minnesota results. For fifth place, Georgia Tech did come up a little bit short, so they wound up at sixth out of the 8 teams. Minnesota defeated Georgia Tech 445 to, I believe, 345. But it'd be very interesting to see if we could disaggregate the scores by gender because the men won both relays, and that's a lot of points. So I have to imagine that in this format the amount of depth Georgia Tech has on the men's side might be of interest. But that being said, race looking pretty solid. Last week we didn't mention, but Annabelle Smith, freshman in the breaststroke, has been looking pretty solid. All our diving, Katie McKinnon, Max Fowler, a couple others are solid. So the top line talent I feel seems to be pretty there, but I would be really interested to see if there are attendance, ticket sales. They sold tickets, which is pretty rare for a normal regular season meet, but they were going for like pretty solid prices. Would be really interested to hear whether from John Ames or from somebody in ops what one attendance looked like versus expectations, if they have streaming or those kinds of numbers. I know you're up against a college football Saturday, which is probably a little tough, and Friday, kind of morning and midday, and as people are working and doing life and stuff like that. But between that and a dollar sign amount, it got a lot of interesting teams in the building, and including some that are kind of a drivable distance. Maybe it was Florida that was the other team. It's bugging me that I can't
I
remember
think you
the names
hit
off the
all
top
of
of my
them
head.
because the ones that I have in
Yeah.
front of me: Tech, Army, Auburn, Florida State, George Washington, Athens, Minnesota, NC State. Those are the only ones that I have in front of me. So there's
Okay.
no other
Well,
SEC
oh, I didn't
schools.
count us. Did I? Maybe that's the
Probably
problem.
not. Uh,
Anyways.
they did have
Yeah.
some promotions, by the way. I'm
Uh,
looking at the page right now. Nick
yep.
Fink was in town. The U.S. Olympian Nick Fink. He was signing autographs on Friday and Saturday. They had student and fan giveaways. They had like rally towels and bucket
Hmm. Hmm.
hats. So they tried to turn this into an event like I guess there's that World Swim League thing that it technically exists. That's like team
International
oriented.
Swimming League.
That already died.
Yeah, the ISL. This is not the
Yeah.
thing that I associate with the initials ISL. Yeah, that exists. But yeah, I don't know. This feels like this is like actually innovative. I feel like this. I like the concept of this. It just fascinates me how this came together,
Yeah.
and got executed. So yeah, I'd like to see more of it. Very interested.
Yeah. I'm just doing a quick flip through to see if there's anything just like in terms of vibes or notes. It's a Swim Swam does, layman's work really getting all this info out of there. It looks like seventh place was Army versus George Washington, so not terribly surprising. Auburn beat Florida State to finish third overall. So that would be what UGA versus NC State for first overall. That's probably pretty to be
From a
expected.
swimming
So
perspective, that's a lot of drama right there. That's pretty good.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'd really be interested to hear if somebody was there in person, what some of those vibes were like. Because I would love to encourage more regular season like thing event type stuff for swimming. Like Georgia Tech invites, great, but how can you sell that to a regular Joe? It's a lot of swimming over a lot of days. I think
Yes.
making it a 90-minute bite size deal, maybe get an ACC network legit in there if you can do it on like a Thursday or something like that. Maybe that's looking
Ooh,
pretty good. But
Olympics lead in. Like, well, I guess it's not an
yeah,
Olympic year, but
We got a while. We got a while. Yeah.
yeah, we got a while. Next up for Tech in terms of swimming is the alumni meet that coincides with homecoming. That will be next weekend. Next weekend is homecoming, by the way. We talked about it earlier with regards to Syracuse, but yeah, keep that in mind. Your full slate of homecoming events are up this weekend. Your mini 500s, your rec parades and your freshman cake races. If you show up at 4 a.m.? No, 6 a.m. for freshman cake race start, I salute you. You're also probably a sicko. In terms of other sports going on around the flats, golf is at the Golf Club of Georgia Collegiate Invitational next weekend. That'll be Friday through Sunday. Men's tennis at the Rome Collegiate Invitational. That is also Friday through Sunday. Baseball is hosting the White and Gold World Series after a weekend in which they throttled West Georgia in a fall exhibition, 26-6. Softball will host Auburn at 7 p.m. on Friday. They had two friendlies over the last couple of weeks. No box scores. No one's really sure what went on. It's fun that some of our sports are super secretive. I totally don't have a problem with that.
They're not secretive in that we were welcome to come. These were open invites to the public, and we none of the three of us bothered to go. So that this is partially on us. We could have gone, and we didn't.
Hey. Look, it's never our fault. It's just, they need to release a box score, of course. Those two friendlies, Northeast Alabama Community College, and then versus Tennessee, which is actually very interesting. I would really like to see a box score from that game, actually. Men's and women's basketball, one update for the basketball programs. The FAMU game for the men has actually been moved to the 20th of December at 2:30 to create this doubleheader situation with women's basketball. So the women will play Wofford at noon, and then the men will play FAMU at 2:30. Nice little making day out of it in terms of basketball. Gentlemen, any other news and notes before we tie a bow on this nearing 2-hour podcast recording?
It deserves it. It deserves the 2 hours. Football deserves it. Remember when we didn't talk about football 4 years ago? We've gone.
Jack, I believe the not talking about football also predates you, because I remember multiple times during the Jeff Collins era where Jake and I were just like, yeah, this is not what we're going to talk about. Cyprus instead.
Fantastic.
I was going to say, we're deep enough in this episode, we can name drop Cyprus now. If you're listening all the way to the end, that's where I was yesterday. The crowd was really good. I'll give them that credit. I don't often watch Georgia Tech events at places with a lot of Georgia Tech people that I don't know, and obviously, you think of Rocky, but Cyprus had a good crowd. People were having fun. I had a good biscuit. Like that. That's what we need, right?
That's a local tech business that we can always support.
I think it's literally inside of a Georgia Tech owned building. So yeah.
Yes, literally. Demarius Thomas got his number retired by the Denver Broncos. His head bust was also added to their Ring of Honor kind of thing next to Peyton Manning's out at Mile High. So there was another weekend to honor his memory and how awesome a player in person he was. I'll throw some more details for homecoming for those that care that are going to be on campus. There's the not traditional events that are happening. One on Friday before Mini 500 is the President's House tour. If you want to come meet Val Peterson and literally see the house legally, shall I say, and walk in, see the main floor, you can do so. It'll be really cool. This will not be a public facing event, but there should be video coming out afterwards. The three presidents, Clough, Peterson, and Cabrera, will all be on stage together for a three presidents panel, and they're gonna have and it's be like a moderated discussion kind of thing. It's exceedingly rare for there to be three living Georgia Tech presidents at the same time, knowing that a lot of them basically did the job until they died, for the most part. Just how it worked. So this is a once in a multi-generation kind of thing that we're getting the chance to have happen, which is cool. And there'll be a tour of the Coda building if you want to go up the staircase. And then Buzz Bash will feature Bobby Cremins of the 1985 team. You'll be able to hang out with them.
I'm going to indulge myself for just a second. I remember sitting in my dorm room at GTL with the 4 books that I brought with me in the archives and literally flipping through, cross-referencing Lyman Hall and being like, this guy worked himself to death. And then checking the other book and being like, oh my gosh, this guy worked himself to death.
Lyman Hall dies in office. Kenneth Matheson leaves because it got too hard. Pettit dies in office. It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. Anyways,
and you guys wonder why I'm worried about Haynes King.
hey, he's led us to 3 straight 7-win seasons, Akshay. That's tough work. Could he double it on this one? Yeah, he could. But Anyways,
I think that's it
anyways,
for us. That's how we're ending this
yeah.
episode. Take us home.
Yeah. As always, from therumbleseat.com, it's the best place to find what we write. Email us at from the rumbleseat@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. Tell us how we can make this podcast better. Twitter, Blue Sky, just look for From the Rumble Seat blog. I'm on Blue Sky. Jack's over there. Akshay, Game on Paper. GameOnPaper.com. Plugging GameOnPaper.com. Our lovely sponsor, Section 103. They are the official apparel provider, literally, of this podcast. Section103.com and at Section103 on Instagram. You can find us at From the Rumble Seat on Instagram, but also Facebook and YouTube as well. You can find this podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed. Remember, tell your friends. We appreciate it. Rate, review, subscribe. Like, comment, unsubscribe, resubscribe, do all the stuff. If you unsubscribe, please resubscribe. You know, it's part of the deal there. But you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Until we speak again, good night, good luck, and go Jackets.